All right, thanks for that response, Gary. This is one of the better videos in the sense that I understand, and I think we've gotten a little deeper as to where some of the disagreement lies, and I'll even concede some points I hadn't really thought that way. Now, first of all, I hadn't worried about the economy of the robots because basically, I do think that your VR world version has robots that have the same kinds of requirements. I mean, they're not just going to pump fluids in and out. There has to be robots to, fix the machines and do all kinds of complicated, arbitrary, things. You can't just set up a conveyor belt system. There has to be free roaming things to know how to fix that. And on the economy of it, the issue really is there's going to be a fundamental change if we get to the point where machines build machines. So a robot that knows how to build robots is going to make labor free. All the costs are going to be time and, of course, resources. Now, my belief is that the resources are not a big deal because we can have plastics from renewable oils. Um, that certainly you could make robots that'd be at least as robust as a human body. You can use metals and things only when you need to. Um, so I think that solves the most of the economic problem with having robots. On the other hand, you are right about we would take up more space and we would take up more resources, and we could take up more resources because it would be easy to exploit resources. We might in fact find that people are spending all their time, making boats and cars and things they don't need, and this could be a damage on the environment and costly to resources that ultimately are limited. Even renewable resources, there's only so much space to produce and whatnot. The best point you made, and I think where it's really, this is one of the interesting side issues, is sort of our faith in human nature. See, I think humans can outgrow some of these problems that we're talking about. I think a lot of the conflict, a lot of the keeping up with the Joneses, both that we see in human society are based on the economic system whereby people are and feel oppressed. Even wealthy people feel limited. They don't have the kind of freedom. They may be paid a lot, but they can't walk away from the job when it pisses them off. There's a certain sense of slavery that makes people want to express themselves in certain ways we see now. And I think if we actually had everybody living wealthy because of this robots doing the labor that would be the menial labor for the perpetually poverty stricken in our system to do, I think we can overcome a lot of those problems. Just like with population in industrialized nations, you see less of a problem, population growth. We will outgrow some of the things that are happening to us and that we do because we are too many rats in too small a cage. And and our economic system requires us to be that. So I think part of the difference has just come down to the to our faith in human nature, because I do understand very well you're finally one thing you see about the VR situation, which is that you think people are going to go neurotic given the kind of wealth they would get in that VR, and they would go kind of neurotic with the wealth they'd be given by robot workers. But you think in a VR, you can just indulge their neurosis and there's no cost to anybody else. Maybe there's a spiritual cost to them, maybe not. Doesn't really matter. You could indulge those neuroses without actually, having them waste the resources of the real world. So I'm going to have to think about that. I mean, my first thought is that, a world where we're free, but we also have a VR, is a world where we can express these neuroses in there. Instead of going to war, we can play, a war game in the VR. And I think we would find a lot of that kind of catharsis, in my model of the future. But I do see what you're saying, and it's not a guaranteed thing that we would outgrow our wastefulness. Um, which might, potentially be worse in my model of how things go. So anyway, I'm going to think about that. That was an interesting response, and so thank you for it, and cheers.